What are you going to do with those pies, boys?
Hello, cadets, and welcome to a special edition, St. Patty's Day edition of the General Howitzer's Big Monster Briefing Room, or just the Big Monster Briefing Room, if you will. My name is Lemuelthowitzer. I'm wearing my lucky shirt in honor of St. Patty's Day coming tomorrow. And we are going to talk about two of the Leprechaun movies, The Leprechaun in the Hood and Back to the Hood, the spelled T-H-A. So I don't know. Anyway, I guess it's supposed to be cool. Let's bring up my able-bodied assistant, Major Millie Hazzard.
Yes, General, and I was going to correct you. I was actually going to correct you because it's the hood. It's not the hood. It's the hood. That's very important.
Okay. Tell me the significance behind that.
Well, because we want to know that this is going to be something a little more urban, a little more cool, a little more hip. You know, this is something to let you know that we're going to go into the hood, and that's how they spell things. That's
so you misspell some of the easiest words in English to be cool.
That's the hip hop culture, you know. So they're trying to show you they're young and vibrant and hip hop and cool, you know.
Why not just say duh, D-A, back to the hood?
I think then they felt like maybe the gentrified audience would be so confused. At least they kept two of the three letters, you know.
Yeah, we're not going to be confused with T-H-A.
Right. We'll just think it's a typo. White people, suburban white people just think it was a typo or something. It's okay.
And two is actually the letter two because it's the second Leprechaun in the Hood movie.
Which is, again, the hip-hop culture. If you buy some of the rap records from back in the day, the 80s and the 90s, you know, you have to be cool and you have to use two for T-O.
Okay, well, then I guess I just don't get it.
You're not meant to get it, you know, but this is our introduction to this urban lifestyle is what we're saying. So we're learning. We're learning from this training film about what happens when a leprechaun goes into the hood. It's a little different than when he goes somewhere else. Going in the hood is a different experience than you're going to see,
with his zombie fly girls.
Right, exactly. The fly girl.
I got my decapitated gnome,
and I do
because you know gnomes and dwarves and leprechauns and all those guys go together, kind of.
And I have this just because Diane Coll, who also wrote our theme song. Thank you so much, Diane. You know, here we go.
Leprechaun at the North Pole.
A leprechaun at the North Pole should be the next one in the series. I don't think we've seen him with snowshoes on, and I would love to see him with snowshoes on.
So, Santa, I know you have these elves working for you.
I think he would be submerged in the Arctic snow or in the, you know, I feel like that wouldn't work too well. I don't think they don't live in Russia, in Siberia. You don't go in the tundra.
He gets the elves on his side. They all attack Santa.
That's true. Yes, and of course, happy St. Patrick's Day. Yes, everybody. Of course, tomorrow. This is St. Patty's Eve. So, luck of the Irish.
St. Patty's Eve. Yes, there it is. So again, I'm wearing the green, OD green. There it goes, and we're ready to go. Oh, we have a special guest on here. One of our favorite people. He's our expert with all things furry. Yes. And the leprechaun is kind of furry. You know, he's got long hair and he's got the little fur on the hands. And he's kind of like a Bilbo Baggins kind of character. So
I'm gonna go like that to his head, but I wouldn't advise it.
Let's bring on Alan Hobbs.
We love Alan Hobbs. He's an A-lister. We love having you.
Yes.
Hello. Yeah. So for Leprechaun in the Hood, you brought in one of the whitest guys you know. Good job. All right. Here I am.
There you go. Well, because we're all learning together. That's what it is, Alan. We're all learning together.
But you're furry. And
me
he's
and the
furry.
leprechaun have the same beard.
That's right. That's right.
So,
and I did want to say, just as a little precursor to this training film, we all think of leprechauns as being so fun and inviting and they're jolly. This puts that right on its head and lets you understand that if you're seeing a leprechaun out in the wild, in the field, hands off, right, Ellen? I mean, they're not to be played with.
Absolutely. Leprechauns are well known as the cobblers of the Fey world. They make shoes for all the other fairies. So they always have a handful of tacks, and they have a little hammer with them at all times that they will hit you in the knees with.
That's very scary.
Yeah. Little reflex action.
That's myth. That's myth. Yeah.
Well, and they touch upon that in the first movie that had Jennifer Aniston in it. That was one of his weaknesses. If you throw shoes out, he'll go and clean them and fix them.
Yeah, he has to. He's
slow him down.
He was compelled.
And then after that, they just kind of threw that out the window and said, let's not do that again. And said, okay, hey, how about 4-leaf clovers? If you get a 4-leaf clover, you can hold him off. That kind of thing.
It's very hard to find a 4-leaf clover. You can spend hours in
but in these movies, easy peasy.
A little bit easier in the training film. Yes, I agree.
And actually, in one of these movies, I think it's the second one, Back to the Hood, they find it in weed. There's some 4-leaf clovers in their weed.
Has that ever happened to you, General? Back in the 70s, did that ever happen to you?
Never happened to me.
They must be buying the cheap stuff.
That was the cheap stuff. Yeah, that was bought at the corner. Not at the corner.
Someone
store,
tricked them and gave them a bag full of lawn clippings. That's what happened.
Yeah,
that's it. But in actuality, it helped them out. At the end, they used the weed to get the leprechaun stoned and take some of his power away with the 4-leaf clover. So, but let's get into that. Let's go ahead and start the first timeline for Leprechaun in the Hood. It's a Lionsgate Trimark film. This one, I believe, was released to theaters. I'm pretty sure the second one wasn't.
This one was released in theaters, and I have brought up, I think, before with you that in this one he really had some big contract demands, and he had a lot of contract demands in order for him to even appear. And one of them was he was very limited in filming. I think they got him in makeup for a couple days, but he only wanted 1 day in makeup because the makeup in 4 or whatever it was before this was pretty rough on him. And he also had kids now, and he didn't want to do too much scary stuff. So in this movie, if you watch this training film, you'll notice that he is often separated or backlit in the scenes where he's with others.
Yeah, I think this first scene is actually from one of the previous films. It might be from the first one, actually, where he walks down the staircase and he's got his pot of gold there on the stairs and he's playing with it. And then, boom, they show the opening credit for the film, Leprechaun in the Hood, not THA.
I'm confused. What happened?
Different director. That director decided to spell things correctly. The first thing we say is a wall open up. And IceT pops through with a huge afro. And he and a friend are looking for the leprechaun's stash. And here is a gold flute that you can use to mesmerize people to think you're wonderful. And this has not been mentioned in any of the Leprechaun movies, including the one before this, which was Leprechaun in Space. But there it is. And somehow the leprechaun is now in a statue with a necklace, a magic necklace, which keeps him in place.
But wasn't that in the first one?
The necklace?
Yes. No, actually, I'm thinking of the Tiki doll with Karen Black.
Okay.
Different necklace that bound the little monster.
There you go. So yeah, there's really no explanation as to how he got here or why. And again, we've never seen this before. I don't think in any of the previous films. That might be a nod to that one. But the guy his friend takes the necklace off the statue, and of course the leprechaun comes out. He's free. and he kills him with his own hair pick. He jams it into his throat. He's actually pretty violent in these two movies.
The gore was way up. Okay, so I want to note you did a split screen here. That's because you don't see them together like that at all in this scene.
Yeah,
it is always you see IceT straight on and just his hand, and that is a double.
Yeah.
Or it's over IceT's shoulder to the leprechaun because he was only there for a short amount of time. So, but, yeah.
They did the same thing with Peter Cushing in this Legend of the Seven Golden Vampires.
Yeah, because they had him for a very short amount of time.
Yeah. He's pointing, hey, look at the vampires over there. And they all turn and they're in a different shot, like you said. So, yeah, same kind of thing. Pretty sneaky. So, luckily the necklace falls back onto him and turns him into a statue again. And then we cut to 10 years later or something like that. And IceT's become the huge star. He's called Mac Daddy. And Postmaster P and his crew are doing an audition. They do okay, but they need money to audition again. So they try to pass off a fake to guitar, Jimi Hendrix guitar, to a couple of guys in their neighborhood pawn shops. And that's when Mac Daddy shows up. And he says, I hear you got some interesting music to listen to. And I want to hear it. So they come to his office and they do their thing. And he's like, no, I'm not into it, man. Forget it.
And because they were trying to do a positive message in their rap.
Right.
They wanted no violence, no negativity, just positive influence.
Correct. And he said, no, you got to talk about, shooting people and being a gangster and all that. So they decide they're going to go into his place and steal stuff that night. Okay, we'll send you a positive message. We'll send you a positive message. We're going to steal crap out of your office tonight when you're not there. So, and they find all kinds of jewelry and gold and stuff. And then Mac Daddy shows up and they end up shooting him by accident. There's a bomb goes off next to the leprechaun statue there, knocking the chain off him. And he ends up shooting Mac Daddy and taking the gold flute. So the leprechaun pops out. They end up shooting at him and leaving.
And they had no idea the significance of the gold flute. They just kind of randomly.
Yeah, they don't know what it is. They just, that's a gold flute. We're taking it.
Yeah, makes perfect sense.
But they left the necklace. They can trap the leprechaun, which was a nice big necklace.
Medallions have no value in the hood. It's all about gold flutes. Trust me, I know.
In the hood. So again, split shot. They kind of do their thing, and they smoke some weed together. This is in a bathroom at Mac Daddy's place, and he takes one of Mac Daddy's fingers, his trigger finger, actually, which comes into play later when Mac Daddy runs into the boys that stole stuff from him, and he's trying to shoot him, and he can't because his trigger finger's been taken. And this guy gets zapped by the leprechaun in the club.
I don't know of any historical reference to leprechaun lightning powers. This is new to me.
Yeah.
Help much.
Again, there's a lot of powers in this that he has that we've not seen before. And again, they didn't do all of these powers in the next one for some reason. Maybe because they got some flack for it. Now they've got these things that they've stolen from Mac Daddy, and they're giving them to the guys at the pawn shops, and they got their money. And he's starting to find out that by blowing the flute there, that it mesmerizes people and gets people to pay attention to him. And again, he starts rapping like really cool, really good rap stuff. So eventually, Mac Daddy runs into him again. And there's a lot of this going on in the film. They keep bumping into each other. And the leprechaun is taking out anybody that's touched his gold. That's something that's in all the Leprechaun films. If you touch his gold, yeah, it's pretty much a death sentence. It's a death wish.
He's very much trying to get his hoard back.
Well, and again, it's just if you've touched the gold,
right? You don't have any, but you touched it.
It's enough. It's enough to piss him off enough to kill you. So they're having a hideout with an acquaintance, transgender acquaintance, transvestite. And the neighbor's complaining about the music. They're trying to practice for the show, and he plays the flute, and the neighbor's okay with it, and they have a big party, and they're rapping like crazy and doing a great job. So this is when they figure out the flute has magical powers, and this is how Mac Daddy has become so famous over the last 10 years and collected his fortune. The leprechaun shows up, and we find out something interesting about the leprechaun. He can, if you have sex with you, he can basically screw you to death. and this comes in play later with the zombie girls too. I mean, they bring girls to him at the end of the, and he kills the transvestite. And they set up a little trap for him. Their special effects guy sets up a little explosive for him. And they burn him real bad. But again, you can't stop him. He's unstoppable. The
burn is actually very well done in this.
Yeah,
I don't think that setting Fae on fire is as negative as it is to werewolves and vampires.
Yeah,
I think that leprechauns and gnomes and fairies and elves, I think, not flame proof, but they certainly have some resistance.
Right. And again, it doesn't seem to really affect him all that much because he's up and running again very soon after.
I got better. Yeah.
So yeah, they get away again. They're really good about slipping away from this guy. And he actually admires that. He says that later on when he gets the flute back at one point. They go to Postmaster P's mom's house for a little bit. And then they go to a church, local church, and Reverend Hansen says, "You're going to have to sing." And they sing this disastrous, terrible rap to the church congregation. And then he plays the flute, and everybody is mesmerized. And they start singing a great song after that. And even Coolio shows up in the back of the church.
As he is wont to do.
Yeah. But also Mac Daddy shows up again, and the leprechaun shows up, and they say, "Well, the leprechaun's behind you." And he says, "Hey, I'm not going to fall for that." And his big bodyguard is there next to him, and the leprechaun is behind him, and he blows up the inside of the bodyguard.
I want us all to appreciate real quick the leprechaun back there. Look at his shoes. Not only are Warwick Davis's legs half the size of everybody else's, but he's working in 4-inch heels. Those are big heels.
Yeah. So yeah, he blows a nice big hole in the bodyguard, one that IceT can actually look through.
Right,
Daddy, which we'll see in a second. There we go. And he does this just by hand gesture. He can do magical hand gestures that cause things to happen.
Would have came in handy had he been able to do that in space.
Yeah. I haven't seen that movie in so long. I can't even remember Leprechaun in Space.
A lot of these magic powers are new with this.
Yeah.
And they were kind of MacGuffins to, well, we want him to do this, so let's just do it.
So here they do the old Bugs Bunny trick where they open the door just as he's running at it, and he goes into a safe, and they lock him in the safe.
And that face, not Warwick Davis. And then again, they film Warwick Davis in a box.
Mm-hmm.
So all of that filming is done separate from the other cast.
Yes.
So that he can knock it out in a day, and they're all outside, So it's a lot of really clever tricks in order to make it seem like they're all there in the same room.
Yeah. So the Reverend now has to watch him while they go and do their audition, and they win the audition. They get to go to Las Vegas because the guy played the flute.
And that was Coolio's group who allowed them to go to Vegas.
So this is where he calls in his demon dolls, his zombie girls, fly girls.
Zombie fly girls.
Yes. And the Reverend meets his end because they helped Warwick Davis get out of they helped the Leprechaun get out of the safe. And then they go to a party that they're throwing for the guys that are going to Vegas. And, of course, they usher their boss in. She-devil with green eyes. And this is where he says he actually respects them for being able to get away from him so many times. So he just says, give me the flute and I'll let you live, which is something this guy usually doesn't do.
Never says that. He was probably lying.
Yeah, well. They get all huffy with him, and actually he does kill one of them. He does a hand gesture, and the guy puts the gun to his own head, and it goes to blackout. You hear the gunshot, it goes to blackout, and then you see them, and he's in a car dead, and they're saying this shouldn't have happened to you, that kind of thing.
That's the leprechaun mind control you hear so much about.
And that's it. He pulls the gun on the Leprechaun and pisses the Leprechaun off. And he's about to walk out. So he goes, "Oh, okay. You want to play that game? All right."
The Leprechaun look is really solid.
Yes.
That's a good looking scary monster.
Yeah. But I can see how tedious and grueling that must have been for him to get that makeup on and off.
Yeah.
That's full head appliances. So, yeah. But you're right. He does look, he does have a cool look. Gnarly leprechaun look. There they are leaving him in the car as if it was a drive-by shooting. And they swear to get their revenge on the Leprechaun and get the flute back because they got to go to Vegas. So they decide to dress up as girls. The friend has been reading up on leprechauns for dummies.
Have that book right over there.
Do you know?
Very important book. Yeah.
That's a real book. I thought they just made that up as a joke for this.
They did. It's not a real book. But if
Sorry.
they did, I would have it. Yeah.
You would have it up on the shelf.
That's right.
Warwick Davis for dummies. So they decide they're going to use some 4-leaf clover marijuana to take away the powers of the fly girls. And here are the fly girls bringing a prostitute to to the Leprechaun, I should say. I shouldn't call him by his real name. And he basically screws him to death. I don't know if he wanted that written in the contract. I don't know if that was one of the stipulations.
I don't know. I know the zombie fly girls were, because that was meant like well, this will never happen. A large sum of money, and I'm only going to be there for a day or two filming.
And say that I am hung like a horse and that I kill women when I screw them.
Okay.
I want that in the movie. So they put their plan into operation. They're going to kill the Leprechaun. He's smoking the marijuana that they gave him, and all of a sudden Mac Daddy shows up and kills the second guy, kills the special effects guy, who I think is Red Grant, Butch. So it's just Postmaster P now. and he shoots. IceT's like, "Oh, you ain't no gangster. You ain't gonna shoot him." He doesn't even get the sentence out completely. He shoots and kills him. He just shot his best friend.
Right. Right.
So
Although
he
has been anti-gun and anti-gang stuff up until this point.
Well, he wasn't until they auditioned for Mac Daddy. Then that all changed. Like,
Yeah.
He's right. We should be gangster. He's an asshole.
Let's rob him.
So let's go back a slide or two. So Mac Daddy is not dead, though. He's on the floor. He's down. He's been shot a couple of times. But amazingly, he's not dead. And they go back to that whole thing of, oh, Mac Daddy's behind you. Oh, you don't think I'm going to fall for that old trick, do you? And IceT is behind him with a chair. And he clocks him. And the chain goes back on his head again. So you suspect that he's a statue again. At the end of the movie, we see Postmaster P doing his rap. And he's killing it, but he's possessed with the green eyes. Possessed with the power of the leprechaun. It's taking him over. But that's not where it ends.
If only we were so lucky.
I liked his song at the end of the movie.
Ah,
I thought it was hysterical. I thought it was great.
I take my monsters pretty seriously, and this was very difficult for me.
So yes, Warwick Davis as the leprechaun does a rap at the end of the movie. At the end of the movie, with the zombie fly girls dancing around him. There he is, doing his thing. He's re-zombifying the girls with the glowing eyes. So this must have been the last shot of his day, of his work day. It was okay. We're going to go to the club and let me do a rap.
It's not weird for this franchise, but this is a very interesting scene.
But it means he's not a statue.
At least he's not a statue. That's right.
So a couple of years later, 3 years later, they decide to go back to the hood, and we open with a storybook time, where a king and his riches and his gold, and he gets the leprechauns to protect his gold. But there's one evil leprechaun, one bad leprechaun, that they say, and of course we know who that is, and it's Leprechaun Back to the Hood.
Spelling is corrected. Yes.
Back to the Hood.
The Hood.
Back to the Hood. So we start with another reverend, and a rainbow, and the leprechaun shows up, and he's in a new kind of darker, more tattered, scarier looking costume, and they have a little battle like Van Helsing and Vampire at the beginning of the movie, and he's throwing water with clover in it on him like holy water, and he does an incantation that gets the demons from hell to reach up out of the ground and pull the leprechaun down into hell, or down into the netherworld. Whatever.
Now, leprechauns have been said to live in fairy mounds, which all over Ireland there are occasional, which are old burial mounds, and they're covered in very green grass. And often it is said that they're fairy mounds and fairies live in there.
They have those in Korea too. The kings and queens that are buried in Korea are buried in these big green hills, basically.
Yeah, and that's what they've become over time. And but I've never heard of a reference of leprechauns even going to hell or prescribing to the one god theory, them being elder fae beings.
Yeah, the church gets involved, and all hell breaks loose. So, and 1 year later, it looks like the school that they were fighting on a construction site for a school grounds. Looks like that went tank up. That they didn't get the school that the city had promised. So it's just kind of a empty construction site still. And we meet our heroes. Excuse me, Peach Tea.
Is that your rap name, Peach Tea?
That's my rap name.
Okay.
I love that. I love it. We need to have merchandise with that on
General
it.
Peach Tea.
And you can have a pin around your neck, you know.
Rap Master Peach Tea. And okay, so let me pull up my IMDb page for this because I want to introduce the characters properly. This is Emily, and that is Rory. Believe it or not, somebody tag Rory Penland. Get him in here. We got a character named Rory. Emily was in love with Rory before, but now he's with a new chick. She's working in a salon. She's not happy about her life. Her friend is really in debt to this gang.
Can you go back 2 slides real quick? If you just put little wings on that helmet, that is Silver Age Flash.
Yeah, but that's a Nazi helmet, isn't it?
It kind of is. I wasn't going to say that. There's a lot of things. I'm just being a middle-aged white dude. I'm not saying a lot during these. I'm just kind of being quiet and nodding, and that's what I'm doing.
All right, Golden Age Flash. So Sherry is the other girl. She's Lisa, played by Sherry Jackson, is the other girl. And this guy wants to like rule the neighborhood. The guy on the right there in the gold jacket. And that's his right-hand man with the 57 shirt next to him. At the salon, yeah, we see that she's got a bad life. The girl with her hair up in the thing there is Rory's other girlfriend. She likes the fact that Emily has got a rough life. But she's good. She's a good person, good heart. So yeah, they kind of try to muscle Rory a little bit, say, hey, this is our turf. We do the drug dealing here, and he's dealing drugs. He's selling weed. And, every time he leaves, they're like, yeah, we're going to pop his ass. We're going to pop a cap at his ass. They're talking about taking him out because he's competition. And they don't like that. And Lisa and Emily, what are they doing here? Oh, no, they went to the Madame Esmeralda, who is a soothsayer, palm reader kind of thing. She sees the leprechaun and she says, you got evil coming towards you. You have big riches, great riches coming your way. Don't take it. Don't touch it. And this is where
this means that the leprechaun at the end of the last film decided to leave Vegas and go back to the hood.
There you go.
Conscious decision on his part.
Why? Because they respelled that THA, and he wanted to find out why. I need to know why they did that. Is that no? Sticky Fingers is the other guy. Who is the friend? Oh, there he is. Paige Kennedy, who plays Jamie. Jamie is the one that's a kind of a screw up. He's the one that finds the 4-leaf clovers in Rory's weed that he's been selling. And then we have this very unfunny scene with the white guy being too white. And then Emily sees a rainbow and she goes and dances in it. And she's pining for Rory still. And then she falls under the ground into a cavern. Nobody explains why or how or what it is, but there it is. It's
at the end of the rainbow, you're supposed to find the pot of gold. True.
But the last time we saw the leprechaun, he was being pulled down by like zombie claws. So they were pulling him down here. Is that what they're trying to tell us? I'm not sure what the connection is. But she's in a kind of a cavern, and there's kind of an opening to a place that looks netherworldly. So has he been down here for a year, just kind of hanging out? There it is. And that's where she finds the chest of gold.
This have been the spot.
Yes, and that's where the rainbow was leading to. Was that chest right there? And they open it up, and they see something that Forrest Gump saw in his movie. There was a connection there. There's got to be a connection there. I got this chest, and it's got these coins in it. And now this little green man's coming after me. I don't think he's good for Jenny or I. So they're like, wow, we've got all these riches now. These things are worth $3,000-$4,000 a coin. We've got all these riches now, and they're talking about what they're going to do with it. And the leprechaun comes out. So he pays off the guys that he owes money to. They go on a shopping spree. Rodeo Drive.
So did it work out that Rory just ended up with both of these women? Is that what happened?
Do you got to get down in the shelter now?
They're telling me that things are happening. That will be fine. What's the worst that could happen?
Oh God. Well, we're videotaping, so the insurance company, will
right.
If the roof goes off, we'll have.
Yeah, we're under tornado watch here in Texas, where I'm at right now. Just so. No.
Yes. Okay, so they go on a shopping spree. I do hope you're going to be okay. You got to watch out for those tornadoes. They throw a big party. And of course the leprechaun shows up at the party, and Rory shows up with the other girl whom we all hate immediately as an audience in this training film. And there's a guy smoking bong, and the leprechaun comes in. He's like, well, this is some good shit. The leprechaun smokes a little toke with him. He's getting happy, and then one of the coins falls out.
Right.
Onto the floor. And the leprechaun immediately gets triggered. And he kills the guy with the bong.
And now normally he can smell the coins, but this time he was just surprised.
Yeah. My babies, my babies. He says that at one point in this film. I love that. I don't know why. I mean, he calls his coins my babies. But there's something I want to talk about in a minute.
Okay.
I'm a little confused about. Okay. And then we have, now this is obviously a double playing the leprechaun, like throughout this whole shtick in this scene in the kitchen where he's making a sandwich and the leprechaun's behind him and he keeps bumping him with stuff and he ends up bumping him into the refrigerator. And then the party's over when they find the guy with the bong in his stomach.
It normally is.
Party's over, folks. Dead guy with a bong in him. And the girl, Rory's girlfriend, takes one of the gold coins. She finds it, takes it to a guy. He smelts it down and makes a gold tooth for her. This is when the movie starts to get really fun. For me, anyway. So he makes a gold tooth for her out of one of the coins. And I'm like, oh, we know what's going to happen to her.
Yeah, that's going to be a terrible idea.
Back at the salon, Emily still has to do her terrible job, and she's not happy about it. She's saying, "Look, I'm going to quit." And her boss is like, "Yeah, that's not the Emily I know. You would help us when the time we need help." And the leprechaun shows up.
Wasn't Emily waxing this lovely woman?
Massaging.
Oh, massage.
Giving her a massage. Yeah, it was a deep tissue massage, and the leprechaun takes over and gives her a real deep tissue massage with his claws. And they show his feet too in this scene, and they're really gnarly. He's walking on her back. So now Emily fights with the leprechaun in the front of the salon. For some reason, the salon is completely empty now. It's just her and the leprechaun. And he goes after her with a pair of scissors, and she sticks him with a razor in his eye. And when he tries to chase after her, the razor is still attached to the wall, and it yanks him back. Funny shtick.
His feet are smaller than I would think they would be.
His feet?
Yes. I'm looking at how big his hands are in that.
Look like cat feet.
I would just expect larger feet.
Leprechaun's got little cat feet. Cat paws. So she goes and tells Rory and his girlfriend. They're laughing at her, but Rory's like, well, wait a minute. And then Jamie shows up. He's got a new car. He's got chains around his neck, and he's obviously spent a lot of money. Lisa is at home. She's applying for college because she's got her college money now. And she's hearing noises in the kitchen, things banging around. She goes out to check. It's a very kind of spooky, intense scene. And then the leprechaun pops out finally, after building the tension to quite a peak. And she locks herself up in the bathroom, and he busts through the door, a la Jack Nicholson in The Shining. And she flamethrowers him with a can of hairspray and a lighter. And again, we learn it doesn't really kill him because he kills her.
At least that is consistent.
So they come and they find a mess on the floor and in the bathroom, and Lisa's gone. And they talk about, hey, we got to give the money back to this leprechaun. Otherwise, he's going to kill us. And this is where they find out that the chest refills itself with new coins when it empties. It's like the goose that laid the golden egg. So why is he concerned about every coin when he knows he's going to get a whole box of coins anytime he empties it?
Right.
That doesn't make much sense to me. I was like, well, wait a minute. And they've never shown this in the movie before, in any of the other movies before.
He should worry less about the coins if he gets new ones every day.
Yeah, the box is what he really wants. The magic coin box. His favorite magic trick. He shows up that night at her house. He's in her bed. She's real good at getting away from him. They actually get out into the street. He's fighting with her out in the street, and that's when her boyfriend Rory comes back. They think Rory has abandoned them, and he clocks him with his motorcycle. And now now I don't know how, but the leprechaun finds the girl with the gold tooth, and what we figured was going to happen definitely happens. He takes the gold tooth back, kills her,
and now he has a gold tooth.
Though I don't remember seeing it in the later scenes, but
maybe it's a cap.
So they're trying to escape with the box, and they get stopped by the police. And the police find the box, and they find the box is full of gold, and they get greedy, and they decide they're going to keep the box. They put our two heroes in the back seat of their car, lock it up, and then the leprechaun shows up. And he says, "You must return me box of gold." And they said, yeah, right. And they clonk him over the head.
And that's a real good shot of the new costume for this.
Yes.
Where before it was, a very bright blue, like almost an Argyle vest.
Yes.
With, bright buttons and such. And this is a very trimmed down and spooky looking costume.
Yes. Again, he definitely looks more menacing than from the costume before. Agreed. So he kills the first police officer by putting his, claw through him. The other police officer knows Gung Fu and starts kicking him around. And eventually the leprechaun learns when he fights. He learns what to do. You might hit him 2 or 3 times, but then he'll figure out how to counterattack.
But he forgot his chest exploding powers.
Yeah. That stuff is gone the way of the dodo. Not sure why. So the cop's kicking him around, and then he grabs the cop's leg, slings him back around to the car, but keeps the leg. He opens the back of the police car, and they kick their way out. Wouldn't you? and they shoot him with the shotguns from the police car to keep him down long enough for them to get on the motorcycle with the box of gold and get the hell out of there. So now after this, and I don't have a slide for it here, but after this, he decides he's going to drive the police car, the Leprechaun.
Well, and if they had left the box of gold, then the movie would be over. So
yes,
we don't want that.
Because even
though that's what they said they were going to do, was give it back.
So that was exactly. So his feet are too short to reach the pedals, and there's funny shtick about that. Oh, by the way, the soundtrack for this particular Leprechaun movie is one of the best from the series. I really never got into the music for the first one. Even the theme was kind of it seemed kind of comical and not that scary. But in this movie, the music is actually very intense, and when you got your horror scenes, there's really good crescendos of scary type music. So right. I highly recommend the soundtrack for this one. And it doesn't have the rap song from the last one on it. So
therefore it's better.
So they get stopped by the gang. So evidently they went back to their neighborhood for some reason, because the gang is there and they stopped them. They're going to try to kill them. And then the cop car shows up. And we have a great take where the foot comes out of the car and then it falls over. He's used the cop's foot to drive the car, which I think is a hysterical idea. So, as only the Leprechaun can. So he starts his speech. You've taken what's taken from me. And then he gets stopped. This is another great piece of comical business. The guy gets a call from his girlfriend. And the Leprechaun can't give his speech. So he's just sitting there looking at the guy like, come on. It's a great bit. I actually really enjoyed that bit.
That's he looks like John Travolta there in the meme where he's going.
It's probably the funniest take that Warwick Davis has ever done. And he does it really wonderfully. I mean, just the look on his face is so precious. You got to be kidding me. So the guy gets off the phone with his girl, and he proceeds to mop up the place with Warwick Davis. He's a fighter. He's a good fighter. But what he doesn't realize is leprechauns don't get tired. Even if you slug them around and, punch them into the trash, a couple of dozen times, they'll wear you down. So, and that's what happens here. Oh, it looks like you're all tuckered out. Puts his hand through him, puts his claw through him like he usually does. I just had to wait.
There's another excellent city boxing scene in Jason Takes Manhattan, where Jason finds a boxer, gets knocked around for a bit, and then, tires the guy out, punches his head off.
Punches his head off. Just like in Killer Clowns from Outer Space. One punch, boom, head comes off. So what's happening here?
He ripped his heart out.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
He puts his claw through him and rips his heart out. And shows it to the rest of the gang. They shoot the hell out of him. They just shoot him up, machine guns. And he's down. And he gets up. And then they shoot him again, and he's down. And they shoot him again, and he's down. And they shoot him again. It's one of those things. And then they hit him with a car. Our crew, our heroes, hit him with a car, get in the car, and take off. He actually grabs on the car. He's under it for a while, and there's some funny shtick going on with that. But they get away from it again.
So, a few years before this, there was a movie of a similar vein called Rumpelstiltskin.
Okay.
Have you seen that training film?
I have not.
It is a riot. All you like about this one, you would like about that one.
Okay.
It is not, but you would think that Rumpelstiltskin was played by Gilbert Gottfried, the way that he, just the way he is.
I'm writing it down. We're gonna put it on the list. I don't know if we'll get to it soon, but we'll put it on the list. They go back to Esmeralda. That's right. They go back to Esmeralda because she's got answers, and she tells them how they need to that they need clovers, and of course, Jamie remembers. Hey, you got clovers in your weed, dude. They take a clover and they chop it up, and they make hollow point bullets with clovers in them, which is a pretty cool idea.
Very creative. Absolutely.
Yes. So, yeah, they wax the tops of the bullets so that the clovers are in the hollow tips, and that means that it's going to blow up inside the leprechaun, and he's got clovers inside him. That's going to probably hurt him a lot. She fends off the leprechaun when he shows up. Esmeralda does. Evidently, she has magic powers. Who knew? But her powers are not as strong as the leprechaun's. He's got some evil bad mojo that's much more powerful than what she's got. So in that next slide, you'll see he outdoes her. He's got the red eyes. Her eyes turn white. I was really expecting like a post-credit scene on this one where they would show her telling a fortune to somebody and she's blind. But anyway, I don't know why I thought that, but it didn't happen. So evidently she's just dead, I guess. He zapped her. And used her own crystal ball too. So they get him up on the roof. Again, there's a lot of, this is a very long fight at the end of this movie. It's like a 20-minute fight at the end of this movie. And they're going all over the place. And there's a furnace and a fire. She kicks him in the furnace and burns him up. He comes back again. It's like the Terminator. You just can't kill him. He keeps coming back for more. So they shoot him several times with the clover bullets. And evidently, if you don't do it just right, it doesn't take. It doesn't kill him. I think they should have shot him in the head. I think that's what it was. And they didn't do that. So how this ends is really a travesty because there just happens to be a pit of wet cement next to this Esmeralda's building.
Hold on. All the other stuff in this film, and this is what you're think is a travesty, and this is what you're upset about?
Obviously, it's not fast drying concrete because it's been there for God knows how long. There's no construction workers down there or anything. It's late at night. I really got a problem with this. The rest of the stuff was kind of fun, and it's silly. But on this, I'm like, come on, that would have hardened long ago before he. The crux of it is they end up kicking him into that concrete, and he sinks into the concrete, and that's it. That's how they trap him. That's how they get him at the end of the movie. And
he's back underground.
Yeah. So he is the cornerstone of that school whenever they finish building it someday. But again, how convenient is that to have slow drying cement next to that building? I mean, it's so wet when he falls in there. It's splashing. And then he's, his hands go down into it, and then he's concreted. So it was fast drying after the leprechaun hit it.
Maybe it's leprechaun activated concrete.
I don't know. I can't explain it. Well, that sounded exciting.
That's my ringtone. It says Monsters Rock.
Of course.
Yeah.
So there it is. The two Leprechaun in the Hood movies explain to you what works, what doesn't work. Again, some good moments in these films. I mean, the leprechaun smoking weed in both of them is pretty funny.
I won't say that I liked them. I will say that I'm glad they happened.
There you go. That's very non-committal.
Yeah, I'm glad they exist. I can't say that I like them. The leprechaun as a icon of horror, I think, was just super brave in the beginning because there wasn't like negative lore associated with it.
Yeah.
And then the element of he goes back after his gold.
Yes.
Every kid has heard, if you catch a leprechaun, you can get their pot of gold from them.
Well, and again, you got the Disney, Darby O'Gill and the Little People, where, oh, how fun that is. Yeah. But there are some dark elements in that with the Banshee and the Dark Coach and how the leprechauns do try to trick you. But yeah, they're pretty easygoing, and they're not very hurtful or harmful in that movie.
Yeah, they're not terribly menacing.
Yeah, menacing. There we go. So when this series came along, yeah, it made him kind of menacing, and he's gotten more menacing as the series has gone on. Because that Back to the Hood, yeah, that was pretty graphic, pretty gory, some of the stuff.
Yes, absolutely. And with the chest exploding powers of, he didn't have to fist fight you. I mean, they went back to fist fighting Leprechaun on this one, which I think is probably better. I would like to see him go ham on someone with a shillelagh at some point.
There you go. All right. Well, thank you for joining us for our shenanigans. And we hope you have a good St. Paddy's Day. And keep an eye out for those leprechauns.
I will. Our haunt is actually open tomorrow night. We're doing Leprechaun Lights Out, which is a fun event at dark hour here in Texas.
Well, aren't you doing? I saw something about St. Paddy's sleigh.
We had done a St. Patrick's sleigh event, and we renamed it and rebranded it to Leprechaun Lights Out.
Well, there you go.
Yeah,
because other people were using your names.
That was years. That was actually a 3-year-old post that someone commented on and reactivated.
Oh, okay. All right. Again, I saw it like 2 days ago, and I was like, oh, wow. Okay. Yeah. Again, thank you, Alan, for being with us. And
thanks for having me on.
And where is Major Hazzard? There she is. We'll see you next time. We're gonna have Ruby Ray Moore on next week, and we're doing Cat's Eyes. It's Stephen King. So, and that's got a troll in it.
It does.
It's a very scary movie. I remember seeing it as a kid. It was very scary.
Well, all right then.
All right.
You all have a good night.
Bye, guys. Thank you.
And